Welcome to ZD-27. I'm John Rasmus Houston. The following debriefing requires top secret access. If you do not have top secret access, you are not cleared to watch this video. I actually have an extreme exclusive. There's a guy, an anonymous whistleblower with a lawyer speaking on his behalf, saying he has seen a 30-foot wide flying saucer and that he has stepped inside of this 30-foot wide flying saucer. But he said on the inside, it was as big as a football field. It made him nauseous to go inside. And he used the word investigator. This guy's an investigator? Who's giving this guy top secret clearance and access? Because I sure as heck wouldn't give this guy top secret clearance and access. What's he doing inside of a top secret flying saucer, which warps space and time like the TARDIS on Doctor Who? Lawyer Daniel Sheehan, he's the guy that is representing the UFO whistleblower that claimed to go to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and walk inside of a flying saucer that on the outside was 30 feet wide, but the inside was the size of a football field. So who is this UFO whistleblower being represented by Daniel Sheehan? Is it Lou Elizondo? That is my question, because Lou Elizondo is also being represented by lawyer Daniel Sheehan. Is Lou Elizondo the formerly anonymous UFO whistleblower? Or are they two separate individuals? The UFO community, feel free to share what you know. Has Lou Elizondo ever made any reference or claim or hint that he knows of someone, or if he personally saw a flying saucer that was small on the outside but gigantic on the inside and warped space and time? Because this exact story is repeated in the Montauk Project book spin-off by the original author of the Montauk Project books, Preston B. Nichols. A 1996 book entitled Encounter in the Pleiades, an inside look at UFOs. On page 21 of this 1996 book, Preston claims to have walked inside of a flying saucer, specifically at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The exact same base this anonymous whistleblower is claiming to have seen a 30-foot UFO on the outside and a football field on the inside. Preston B. Nichols claims it was a 50-foot wide flying saucer on the outside, and he walked for 10 minutes on the inside. Preston B. Nichols claims it was an artificial reality, kind of like the Matrix, like Neo entering the loading program for the first time, knowing that it's fake. He's like, what is this? Where am I? I personally do not believe this story is true, because I've researched the Montauk Project for 15 plus years, starting back in the year 1997. I bought all the books, read them all, and even talked with Preston B. Nichols personally. So I really would like to know who this anonymous whistleblower is, being represented by Daniel Sheehan. Is it Lou Elizondo? That is my question. And if it's not, who is it? Because they read the book Encounter in the Pleiades, an inside look at UFOs, published in 1996. I guarantee it. Is it scientifically possible to walk into a small craft and the inside be gigantic? I don't know. Ask a theoretical quantum physicist like Dr. Michio Kaku. Ask him that question. I've only read one UFO book in my life. Okay? It was back in the 90s. I probably read this book in 1999, about the time The Matrix came out. This is the singular UFO book I've ever read in my entire life. One of the more obvious tales, tall tales, that Preston B. Nichols told, that he was invited to a secret location. And he was shown a flying saucer. And he was told he'd be on this team that worked on it and tried to, figure out how it works. He did work on multiple electronics things in his life. So it's theoretically possible he was recruited to try to reverse engineer or to try to figure out how this flying saucer works. If flying saucers are held anywhere, it's theoretically possible. On a Bob Lazar level, Preston B. Nichols was a savant when it comes to electronics. Whether his Montauk Project story is true or not, I'm a Montauk Project expert, okay? I've personally talked with Preston B. Nichols. We had a back and forth. I talked to Preston B. in the year 2000, back on the Montauk Project forum. I got to ask him some questions. Now knowing this UFO warping space-time connection, I really wish I asked him more about the flying saucer, more about this warping of space-time, more about the location. Now, Preston does say the name of the location of the flying saucer. Now, this anonymous whistleblower said that a 30-foot-long flying saucer on the inside is as big as a football field. This anonymous whistleblower said this was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Preston B. Nichols, back in the year 1996, said in his book, Encounter in the Pleiades, an inside look at UFOs, in chapter 3, on page 21, he starts talking about how he was invited to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the exact same base mentioned by this whistleblower. Now, I understand the believers want to believe, okay, they both saw the same flying saucer, but I'm leaning more in the direction that this whistleblower read this obscure book and is word for word, bar for bar, repeating what Preston B. Nichols talked about in 1996, as opposed to actually going to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and seeing this flying saucer. But let's give this anonymous whistleblower, who's a coward, in my opinion. If you're anonymous your whole life, A to Z, you're not a real whistleblower. A whistleblower is someone that shows their face and their name. Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, David Grush, Bob Lazar. Whether you believe those guys are good or bad, telling the truth or not, those four guys have their face and their name out there. This anonymous whistleblower does not. Preston B. Nichols wasn't taken super seriously his entire life. I know a lot about Preston B. Nichols, and I don't want to talk about all the details, but I did talk to him. I asked him a question. I asked Preston B. Nichols, the rearing horse statue in the year 6037, can you tell me a little detail that you didn't put in the books so I can know a tiny thing just in case I see them constructing it, for example, I'll know whether, okay, it's this or that. Preston B. Nichols said, the clock on the cover of the book. There's a clock in the belly of the horse on the cover of the book. He said there was no clock on the real horse. He said that clock was artistic license that the artist plopped on there on the painting for the book. I was like, wow, thanks for that info. I didn't know. Didn't have a clock in its belly. Now I know, thanks for the info. And then Preston repeated on the Montauk Project forum that exact same thing, because he wanted everyone to know. But I was the first to know, or first to ask and know. As far as this book, Preston B. Nichols says, on page 22, he says, hey, that's a UFO. And the airmen said, shh, we're not supposed to say things like that. It's a foreign aircraft. He then told us that we were visiting the Foreign Aircraft Technology Group. It was obviously a very clever use of language. The Air Force personnel representing the Foreign Aircraft Technology Group then proceeded to give us a grand tour of the UFO. From the outside, the craft was silver and looked just like a typical disc-shaped flying saucer. It appeared to be about 50 feet in diameter. 50 feet in diameter. It appeared to be about 50 feet in diameter. Now, this whistleblower is saying 30 feet in diameter. He's not saying 50, he's saying 30. So, why isn't he exactly saying 50? Why did he change it to 30? That's neither here nor there. He could have said 60 feet, and it would have been the same story. Doesn't matter if he changes it by 20 feet. This new whistleblower is saying 30 feet, Preston said 50 feet, but they're clearly talking about the exact same craft. Let me tell you why. The most startling aspect of this flying saucer was apparent when I first went aboard. It was absolutely huge inside. The vessel was only 50 feet in diameter, yet we walked in one direction for what seemed to be 10 minutes. There was literally hundreds or thousands of feet of space. I couldn't explain it at the time, but today's knowledge, it is apparent that we had entered an artificial reality when boarding the ship. This aspect of a UFO is key. to its construction and ability to travel from one location to another. So Preston B. Nichols said he walked for 10 minutes. If you walked around a football field and you walk slow and you're observing everything you're looking at, you could most definitely walk for 10 minutes. That could be about the same size. Football field, 10 minutes of walking. 30 feet wide, 50 feet wide. But the key and what connect the two are the fact that both sources say this flying saucer, which apparently warped space and time, was at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Here it is on page 26. Wright-Patterson. The saucer was more oval-shaped than the one from Wright-Patterson. This is actually Preston talking about a different flying saucer he saw, which was more oval-shaped. Sounds like a tic-tac UFO. So perhaps this will become a new best-selling book. It's not going to benefit Preston. He died a couple years ago. Rest in peace. But encounters in the Pleiades and inside look at UFOs. I don't make a penny from showing you this. I just wanted to show you the connection on the warping of space-time. Now, I personally believe there's a really good chance Preston made up the story from watching Doctor Who. And I think this new whistleblower made up the story from reading this book. That's where I lean in the direction of. But if we want to be die-hard believers and just to believe in everything we hear, perhaps they both experienced and both walked in a craft in Wright-Patterson. Is it still at Wright-Patterson? That's what I want to know. Wright-Patterson is a cliche UFO location, though. It's really cliche. If you're going to make up a story, throw out the old Wright-Patterson. I've heard Wright-Patterson pop up for years and years and years, to the point where you're like, yeah, whatever. Or perhaps it's still there. Who knows? We don't know.
At Wright-Patterson Field, if you could get into certain places, you'd find out what the Air Force and the government knows about UFOs. Reportedly, a spaceship landed, and it was all hushed up, quieted. And I called Curtis LeMay, and I said, General, I know we have a room at Wright-Patterson where you put all this secret stuff. Could I go in there? I've never heard him get mad. But he got madder than hell at me, cussed me out, said, don't ever ask me that question again.
Now, Preston says before he actually got to the actual location of the actual flying saucer at Wright-Patterson, he said he was flown on in, and the airplane went straight into a hangar. And from that hangar, he got in a van, similar to the van Bob Lazar rode in to go from Area 51 to S4. It had no windows. So he's in a van with no windows, and he said they drove for quite a while, to the point where he could never have guessed which direction they went. And then he gets out, and he's shown this flying saucer. They wanted Preston B. Nichols to help them understand how it worked. And he gave his best theory as to how it worked, and he gave his theories on how they could have made it self-sustainable, but as to how you create a false reality to begin with, I'm sure he gives more theories on how to do that. And it all links, it all connects to the Montauk Project. I am a Montauk Project expert. Preston B. Nichols tells a lot of tall tales, though. Preston B. Nichols said he went to Mars. He said he went to the D&M Pyramid on Mars, but the inside. You got to look around and see some Native American-looking artifacts. Preston B. Nichols said he knew Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and the Beach Boys. And you name it, he knew them. Preston B. Nichols claims he recorded The Storm for the song Riders on the Storm for the Doors. So it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on of his tall tales. You think if he knew Jimi Hendrix and rigged Jimi Hendrix's first amp to give it that signature style, and he did a lot of the back electronic work for Beatles albums. Supposedly he worked on Star Wars movies with George Lucas. It goes on and on and on and on and on. You think he would have one single photograph of any of these famous people? I've yet to see a single photograph of him with any of those famous people ever. And even Preston admits in his book, The Music of Time, that, yeah, I don't have a photograph of me with the Beach Boys, but my neighbor saw one of the Beach Boys up my house. That's his evidence that he knows the Beach Boys. It goes into the realm of Preston B. Nichols claiming Mark Hamill has a clone from an alternate timeline who is not an actor, I'm a Montauk Project expert. Now, it's not something to brag about, but at least it gives me some insight into this supposed new whistleblower. I do believe that there are UAPs housed in warehouses, secret underground bunkers, hangars somewhere out there. I do believe David Grush. Let's hope everything comes out and we get to see disclosure. Amazing. I want to see disclosure as much as anyone, but I'm also realistically rational and logical, and I see the possibility for disinformation. I'm sure people think even I'm disinformation. I'm not, okay? Just check out my channel for the past 15 years. You will see I'm just a dude in his garage talking about a book that he read back in the 90s. I'm literally just mentioning this book because it exactly matches a relevant story. Now, David Grush said there's a lot of disinformation. He said there's a big campaign of disinformation concerning UFOs, UAPs, aliens, extraterrestrials, NHIs, non-human intelligences. He said this disinformation campaign is all over the place, especially in the United States. You see it everywhere. The major networks are not picking up any of this David Grush stuff. So hopefully there is a hearing at the end of July. I really am going to be paying close attention. If you happen to miss it, I'm going to cover it. Even though only News Nation, a network I never even heard of, is covering David Grush and this story, and it seems to be the only network covering it, it really doesn't matter to me. I don't care about politics. I don't care about networks, all right? I care about truth. I already said on Twitter that if you're any politician of any particular political leanings, I don't care. You could be Democrat, Independent, Republican. If you are pro-disclosure, if you are pro-releasing and coming clean and full transparency of what UAPs are, if we have 12 flying saucers sitting in hangars somewhere, I think the American people deserve to know, especially if our tax dollars, if our trillions of dollars in tax money has been trying to reverse engineer this stuff. I understand if it's classified for this and that here and there, but man, I really want disclosure. I really want to see crystal clear 4K quality video. If here's the saucer, we're going to be stepping on inside the saucer. Okay, here it is. Here's the alien technology. We give tours of this place? No, we can't. It's classified to the extent of we can't let anyone just mosey on inside here and fly to Mars and take over the galaxy. No. So I understand needing to withhold things, okay? I understand needing to withhold the location of these craft, but please throw us a bone. Full disclosure, I hope, is coming soon. We shall see. It might be 100 years, okay? The last war, prophesied and foretold in ancient codexes of old, says that the last major war, world war, on planet Earth will have the most fantastical weapons anyone has ever seen. The world has never seen such fantastical weapons as the weapons used in the last World War. That is a prophecy foretold. So if that prophecy is true, I know it's getting more in the spiritual realm, all right? I'm not just a two-dimensional cartoon character. I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. This is my channel. If that prophecy is true, then perhaps it'll take a world war for the actual flying saucer fleets to start flying at our enemy. And, oh, you got some stealth bombers? Okay. We'll break out the sport model. Laser you there. Bada bing, bada woo, flying saucers at you. Maybe we'll shoot some Foo Fighters at you. We'll foo it up. Here's the Foo Fighters. Here's the saucers. Mothership. Now, is it going to be ETs? David Grush said these aliens aren't necessarily aliens. They're non-human intelligences. Sounds like demons to me. Sounds like demons to me. It sounds like a physical demon. You know what I mean? People that discount the word demon, intelligence that isn't normally occupying your space. NHI is a great term which encompasses everything, and you can throw demons, you can throw goblins, you can throw trolls, you can throw unicorns, you can throw anything at it, griffins, you can throw cyclopses, changelings, shapeshifters, skinwalkers, you name it. You can encompass everything in NHI. That's why I like the term NHI. Whatever these NHI are, perhaps they're from another dimension, David Grush says. That is very interesting. If these beings are physical, how does a being travel from one dimension to another physically? I'm not sure. I don't know. Okay, I don't know all the answers, but I do have a lot of exclusives, such as this exclusive I just shared with you now. I have a lot of exclusives here on ZD-27. Subscribe, like, share. Please share this video. You may not like my physical features. Okay, what about the information I'm sharing? Okay, you may think, oh, who's this guy? I never heard of him. Who's that dude? I've only been doing this for 15 years on YouTube. Okay, I'm actually a human being. Okay, I actually put a lot of time and effort into my channel, and I change subjects from time to time because I'm interested in different things from time to time. But I am greatly focused on the ET, NHI, UFO, UAP subject right now. Stay tuned. More episodes coming soon. ZD-27. This has been John Rasmus Houston. Be seeing you.